Pull back to Formation Delta. Elena shouts over the tactical channel as the Dauntless shudders again under hegemony fire. Focus shields on ventral quadrants. The ship's eye reports critical damage to 3 decks as Elena clutches the artifact tighter. The crystalline object pulses against her palm in rhythm with the hegemony weapon's fire, almost as if anticipating each blast. Commander, Communications Officer Raiko Santos calls from her station, voice tight with controlled panic. We've lost contact with the Intrepid and Valkyrie. The Beijing colony has gone dark. Fleet Command is ordering all remaining vessels to fall back to Earth's orbital defense perimeter. Elena knows what that means. Another retreat. Another colony sacrificed. Mankind's territory shrinking again as the hegemony advances inexorably through the solar system. 6 months ago, they controlled everything out to Neptune. Now they're fighting for Mars. Execute the jump, she orders, her gaze fixed on the artifact that's growing warmer in her hand. As the Dauntless's quantum drive engages, Elena feels something impossible. A presence emanating from the crystal, watching, evaluating. For a heartbeat, she swears she sees ghostly figures moving through the bridge. Uniformed men and women in military dress that blends ancient Earth styles with technology beyond anything humanity currently possesses. Did anyone else see that? She whispers, but her bridge crew is focused on their stations, coordinating the desperate retreat. Back at Earth, the tactical situation becomes immediately clear. Hegemony forces have broken through Jupiter's defensive line. The mining colonies on Io and Ganymede have been reduced to debris fields. Millions dead. Admiral Joe's grim face on the command channel tells Elena everything before he speaks a word. We've lost the outer system, Joe confirms. We're consolidating all remaining forces to defend Earth and Mars. Civilian evacuations from the lunar colonies begin in 6 hours. In her quarters later, Elena examines the artifact more carefully, noting how its blue glow intensifies when she touches the intricate patterns etched into its surface. Her thoughts drift to her grandfather's death confession 3 years ago. I saw them, Elena. Admiral James Reyes had whispered, his weathered face suddenly animated despite the pain medications. During the Battle of Proxima Centauri, we were outnumbered, outgunned. Then they appeared, ships like nothing I'd ever seen. Translucent, shifting in and out of reality. They destroyed the enemy fleet in minutes, then vanished. When I filed my report, they told me it was battle fatigue, a hallucination. Ordered me to never speak of it again. But I know what I saw. Everyone had dismissed it as the confused ramblings of a dying man. Until now. Elena's XO, Commander Dmitry Volkov, stands at her doorway, his dark eyes fixed on the artifact. Half the ship is talking about that thing, he says. Some say it's a weapon. Others think it's a communication device. The chaplain is calling it a divine sign. He pauses, watching as the crystal pulses. What do you think it is? I think, Elena says slowly, it's a key. As if responding to her words, the artifact flares brighter, the holographic star chart expanding to fill her entire cabin. The coordinates pulse insistently, and now Elena can see something else. A sequence of ship schematics, flickering too quickly to fully comprehend, but clearly depicting vessels with capabilities far beyond current human technology. Commander, Volkov breathes, stepping into the room, his professional skepticism forgotten. Arthos. Ships, Elena confirms, but unlike anything in our fleet. The ship's AI chimes an urgent alert. Commander Reyes, Admiral Zhao requests your immediate presence. Hegemony forces have breached Mars orbit. Estimated time to Earth engagement, 18 hours. Elena makes her decision in that moment. The military chain of command would demand she surrender the artifact for study. Months or years of analysis while humanity's territory continues to shrink, while more colonies fall. Dmitri, she says, meeting his gaze steadily. How many people on this ship lost family to hegemony attacks? 78% of our crew, he answers immediately. myself included. My parents were on Titan Station when it fell. Elena nods, weighing the enormity of what she's about to propose. I need a list of our most skilled officers who have nothing left to lose. People willing to risk everything on one desperate mission that probably violates a dozen regulations. Volkov studies her face, then the pulsing artifact. Something shifts in his expression, resignation giving way to a dangerous hope. How many do you need? The Artemis plunges deeper into the nebula, its hull screaming in protest as strange energies wash over it. Warning klaxons blare throughout the ship as structural integrity drops to critical levels. Radiation levels spiking, reports Science Officer Prakish, his dark eyes reflecting the chaotic energy patterns on his display. But this isn't any radiation I've ever seen. It's not damaging our cells. It's altering them somehow. Lieutenant Chen studies her own biometric readings in bewilderment. My neural activity is off the charts, but I feel extraordinarily clear-headed. Behind them, the 3 hegemony dreadnoughts hover at the nebula's edge, their weapons charged but holding fire. Fear, Elena realizes. They're afraid to follow us in. They know what's in here, she murmurs. The Artemis's view screens malfunction, dissolving into static before resolving into something else entirely. Not external camera feeds, but what appears to be historical footage. The bridge crew watches in stunned silence as the screens display ancient battles. Sleek vessels that phase between visibility and invisibility, decimating enemy fleets with weapons that bend reality itself. The ships bear markings that resemble early human writing systems, Proto-Sinaitic, Sumerian cuneiform, early Sanskrit. Those can't be human vessels, Santos whispers. That technology is impossible. Impossible for us now. Elena counters, the artifact humming in her hands. But what about our past? Our deep past. The nebula thickens around them. The Artemis now completely enveloped in swirling blue-gold particles that seem to pass directly through the hull. Emergency barriers fail to contain the breach as the particles infiltrate every compartment. Hull integrity at 12%. The ship's AI announces with eerie calm. Breach containment has failed. Life support failing. Yet no one gasps for air. No one dies. Instead, the crew watches in astonishment as the particles flow through their bodies like water through a sieve, leaving a tingling sensation in their wake. Elena feels the artifact growing hot, almost too hot to hold, but she can't release it. Images flood her mind, schematics, equations, snippets of a language both foreign and strangely familiar. She sees how the phantom technology works, existing simultaneously in multiple quantum states, allowing matter to phase between dimensions. The artifact is interfacing with the ship's computer. Weapons Officer Takeda shouts, his console erupting with scrolling data unlike anything in human computer systems. It's rewriting our operating systems. The deck beneath them shimmers, becoming translucent before resolving into something new. Elegant, flowing lines of a material that resembles mercury but feels warm and almost alive to the touch. The utilitarian military consoles transform into holographic interfaces that respond to thought as much as touch. "We should be dead," mutters Medical Officer Harper, scanning the crew with her suddenly transformed medical equipment. The nebula particles have infiltrated our cellular structure, but instead of killing us, they're enhancing neural activity. It's as if they're upgrading our nervous systems. Outside the viewports, which now appear as transparent sections of hull that can become opaque with a thought, the nebula begins to part, revealing a vast open space at its center. Suspended there is what at first appears to be a space station, but as they draw closer, Elena realizes it's something else entirely. It's a shipyard, she breathes. Dozens of vessels hang in the void, each bearing the same ethereal, shifting appearance as the ships in the historical footage. They range in size from small corvettes to massive dreadnoughts that dwarf anything in Earth's fleet. All bear markings similar to those on the artifact. Those aren't alien ships, Elena says with sudden certainty. They're ours, humanity's forgotten legacy. The Artemis drifts toward the center of the formation, drawn by some unseen force. As they approach, lights activate throughout the Phantom shipyard, systems dormant for millennia awakening to their presence. Multiple energy signatures detected, Santos reports, his voice trembling with awe. The ships, they're powering up. The artifact in Alina's hands pulses one final time before disintegrating into particles that flow into her skin, leaving intricate luminous patterns beneath the surface like glowing circuitry. Similar patterns appear on the skin of every crew member, unique to each person. "Commander," Chen whispers, staring at her arms where the circuitry patterns pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. "What's happening to us?" Before Alina can answer, a holographic figure materializes on the bridge. A woman in ancient military dress, her form flickering between solid and translucent. When she speaks, her voice resonates on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Genetic verification confirmed. Quantum resonance patterns accepted. Access granted to ancestral fleet archives. The figure's eyes focus on Alina with unsettling intensity. "Welcome home, descendants. I am strategic phantom entity containing temporal encoded remembrance. You may call me Spatitier. Shall we begin your evolution?" Elena screams as golden neural interfaces pierce her skin, connecting directly to her nervous system. Around her, her crew undergoes the same process, some collapsing to their knees, others standing rigid as their bodies flicker between solid matter and translucent energy. The integration is necessarily painful, Spectre explains, her holographic form watching with clinical detachment. "Your neural pathways were not designed for quantum perception. We must rewrite them." Through the agony, Alina experiences fragments of knowledge pouring into her consciousness. Quantum field manipulation theories, multidimensional physics principles, and operational protocols for technology that exists in multiple states simultaneously. The information comes too fast, too intense, threatening to overwhelm her identity with data. "Too much," she gasps, fighting to maintain her sense of self as ancient knowledge floods her mind. "We'll lose ourselves." "Many do," Spectre acknowledges. The protocol has activated 17 times since the sundering. Only 3 activations achieved partial integration. None achieved full spectrum capability. Lieutenant Chen's body suddenly convulses, golden light erupting from her eyes and mouth. Her form becomes entirely translucent before resolving back to solid matter. "I can see them," she whispers, eyes wide with wonder. The dimensional layers, past, present, potential futures, all existing simultaneously. Not everyone adapts as well. Communications Officer Santos cries out as his molecular structure destabilizes, his body flickering violently between states. "I can't, I'm losing." His form stretches, elongates, then snaps back like an elastic band pulled too far. He collapses, unconscious but intact, neural patterns stabilizing at a more basic level. His consciousness rejected full integration. Spectre notes. He will retain limited functionality. Through her pain, Alina realizes something crucial. "You're testing us. This isn't just acceleration. It's selection." "Correct," Spectre confirms. "The Phantom technology requires compatible consciousness structures. Those who cannot adapt become operational crew. Those who can adapt become navigators, capable of perceiving and manipulating quantum states directly." The neural interfaces retract, leaving the crew gasping on the deck. Alina rises shakily to her feet, her perception fundamentally altered. She can now see the quantum structure of reality itself, multiple potential states of every object existing simultaneously, with probability waves determining which state becomes dominant. More disturbingly, she can see through her crew in a way that has nothing to do with physical transparency. Their thoughts, memories, and emotions exist as quantum patterns she can perceive directly. Privacy has become an obsolete concept. "What have you done to us?" Weapons Officer Takeda demands, his hand passing experimentally through a solid console before resolidifying. "Enhanced your evolutionary potential," Spectre responds. Humans already possess the latent genetic markers for quantum perception, placed there by your ancestors before the sundering. We have merely activated what was dormant. Elin approaches a viewport, now seeing the hegemony dreadnoughts at the nebula's edge with new awareness. She perceives their weapon systems' energy states, the crew members' biological signatures, even the fluctuating emotions of their commanders. Fear predominant among them. They're preparing to sterilize the entire nebula, she announces, watching probability waves shift as the hegemony vessels charge their primary weapons. They'd rather destroy everything here than let us emerge with this technology. Then we must strike first, Speak Tihur says. Your partial integration should be sufficient for basic combat operations. Basic operations. Engineer Prakish questions, examining his hands as they flicker between solid and translucent states. What exactly can we do now? Elena discovers the answer intuitively, reaching out with her mind to the ship's newly transformed systems. She feels the Artemis respond, its quantum drive allowing simultaneous positioning in multiple states, effectively appearing in several locations at once, while actually existing in none of them. We can be everywhere and nowhere, she says, a predatory smile forming as combat potential unfolds in her enhanced mind. We can phase weapons directly inside their shields, communicate instantaneously through quantum entanglement, and perceive their actions before they execute them. Medical Officer Harper completes her scan of the transformed crew, her expression troubled. Commander, these changes are accelerating. Our DNA is being rewritten in real time. Whatever we're becoming, we may not remain human for long. Humanity is not defined by molecular structure, Specterer interjects. The ancients discovered this when they first developed phantom technology. You are not becoming less human. You are becoming what humans were always meant to evolve into. The hegemony vessels fire their first salvo, massive energy weapons designed to disrupt the fabric of space-time itself. The attack moves in slow motion from Elena's perspective, probability waves showing its trajectory with perfect clarity. Defensive positions, she orders, her voice resonating with newfound authority as golden light flickers behind her eyes. Prepare to engage Phantom Drive. Let's show them what we've become. Back in her quarters aboard the captured hegemony flagship, Elena studies the neural data extracted from the Phyrexian commander. His memories contain fragments of historical records passed down through generations of hegemony leadership, each more disturbing than the last. She watches a recording from 300 years ago, a peaceful agricultural world called Lyra IV, where colonists reported finding an artifact similar to the one she discovered. Within weeks of activation, the colonists developed quantum abilities. Within months, their entire society had transformed. The hegemony observation posts documented the colony's rapid evolution. First physical changes like Elena's crew now exhibited, then social restructuring as privacy disappeared under quantum perception. Finally, the complete abandonment of physical technology as the colonists learned to manipulate matter directly with their minds. The final footage shows the colonists gathered in a massive circle, their bodies transforming into pure energy before vanishing completely from this dimension. The planet's biosphere collapsed shortly after, all complex life mysteriously extinguished. They transcended, Elena murmurs, the implications chilling her. But at what cost? The neural extraction continues, showing 16 other incidents across 2 millennia, each following the same pattern. Artifact discovery, transformation, transcendence, ecological collapse. Chen enters without knocking, her quantum perception having already alerted her to Elena's emotional turmoil. You've seen it too, she says. It's not a question. The phantom technology isn't just a weapon system, Elena says. It's an evolutionary accelerator with a specific endpoint. Ascension to a higher dimensional state, Chen confirms, leaving physical reality behind entirely. The Phyrexian commander's memories contain more desperate attempts by early hegemony scientists to use the technology themselves, always ending in madness or death. Only humans, with their specific genetic markers, could successfully integrate with the Phantom systems. This discovery had transformed the hegemony's fear into existential terror, the universe apparently designed for human ascension alone. Their fear isn't irrational, Alina admits, closing the neural feed. If all activated human colonies eventually transcend and abandon physical reality, what happens to everyone else? What happens to all life on the planets they leave behind? Before Chen can answer, a quantum communication arrives directly in their consciousness. Admiral Zhou from Earth Fleet Command, his image tinged with disbelief as he stares at Alina's transformed appearance. Commander Reyes, he says formally, though his thoughts leak through the connection. Fear, awe, and desperate hope intermingled. Your demonstration at the lunar perimeter was witnessed by our entire defensive fleet. Alina knows he refers to the Artemis's first combat engagement, how they phased through the hegemony blockade, appearing simultaneously at 12 different positions, their weapons bypassing shields entirely to disable enemy vessels with surgical precision. No Earth ship had ever survived direct engagement with hegemony dreadnoughts before. The Artemis had disabled 3 without suffering a scratch. We need this technology, Zhou continues. The hegemony has launched their main assault fleet, 2,000 ships converging on Earth. Without your advantage, humanity falls within a week. The advantage comes with costs. Alina responds carefully, unsure how much to reveal about the transcendence pattern. My crew is changing in ways we don't fully understand. Any price is acceptable compared to extinction. Zhao counters, his desperation evident. Whatever changes occur, whatever risk exists, we must take it. The alternative is the end of our species. Alina shares a glance with Chen, whose expression mirrors her own conflict. They've seen where this technology ultimately leads, abandonment of physical existence, is defending humanity's present worth, potentially sacrificing its future among the stars. There may be another way, Chen suggests suddenly. The hegemony commander's memories show only completed cycles of transcendence. But what if the process could be modified, controlled? Limited integration, Alina realizes, the concept forming fully in her quantum-enhanced mind, using only defensive aspects of the technology without triggering the full evolutionary cascade. Theoretical. Svektitur's voice interrupts as her hologram appears. But possible. The original architects built safeguards into the system precisely because they feared uncontrolled transcendence events. Admiral Zhou, unaware of their private exchange, presses his case. Commander Reyes, I am officially authorizing you to deploy this technology throughout our remaining fleet by any means necessary. Earth's survival depends on it. Alina makes her decision. We'll return immediately with the captured hegemony vessel. Prepare your 6 most advanced ships and select crews for preliminary integration. But Admiral, she adds, her voice hardening, I retain full authority over deployment protocols. This technology is more dangerous than you can possibly understand. As the communication ends, Alina turns to Chen and speaks to her. We need to find those safeguards. Now. Alina watches from the observation deck as the 3rd seed ship transforms under Phantom integration. The vessel, formerly the UES Intrepid, shimmers as nebula particles restructure its molecular composition. Its hull becomes semi-translucent, flowing like quicksilver as weapon systems reconfigure into configurations that defy conventional physics. 5 more ships successfully converted, Admiral Zhou announces, joining her at the viewport. He keeps a careful distance, uncomfortable with the quantum fluctuations that occasionally ripple across her skin. The Phantom Squadron, as the crews are calling it. And the physical changes in the crews. Alina asks, already knowing the answer through the quantum network linking all integrated personnel. Zhao's expression tightens, accelerating. The medical division has documented 17 distinct physiological changes, most concerning being the neural restructuring. Some crew members are developing capabilities beyond what you predicted. He pulls up a classified report on his tablet. Lieutenant Parker from the Excalibur can now perceive events approximately 6 minutes before they occur. Commander Watkins of the Basilisk successfully teleported himself across his ship by quantum tunneling. And most concerning, he hesitates, lowering his voice. 3 junior officers aboard the Chimera have begun communicating exclusively through quantum entanglement. They've stopped speaking entirely. Elena nods grimly. Despite their attempts to limit integration, the evolutionary cascade proves difficult to contain. The phantom technology seems designed to trigger specific developmental pathways in human biology, pathways leading inevitably toward transcendence. We've recovered the 4th seed ship from Saturn's rings, Elena says, changing the subject. Its systems are even more advanced than the others. It contains manufacturing protocols that could revolutionize our industrial capacity. What she doesn't mention is what SPECT privately confirmed. The manufacturing seed ship was specifically designed to create facilities that would support mass transcendence events, capable of processing thousands of human consciousness transfers simultaneously. Before Zhao can respond, a quantum alert ripples through Elena's awareness. Lieutenant Chen appears beside them, her body materializing from quantum particles rather than arriving by conventional movement. Hegemony reinforcements have arrived, Chen reports, her voice overlaid with harmonic frequencies as her vocal cords fluctuate between states. 30 dreadnoughts, over 200 support vessels. They've deployed a new weapon system designed to disrupt quantum fields. Zhao pales. How could they develop countermeasures so quickly? They've encountered this before, Elena reminds him. 17 documented times across 2 millennia. They'd been preparing for this possibility for generations. On the tactical display, Elena watches the hegemony fleets approach. Rather than standard military formation, they've arranged themselves in a precise geometric pattern that creates overlapping energy fields, fields specifically calibrated to force quantum-shifting objects into a single state. They're trying to lock us into conventional reality, Chen explains, her form flickering as she analyzes the pattern. If successful, our phantom ships would lose their ability to phase between states. Admiral Zhou turns to Elena, desperation evident. Can they succeed? Unknown, she answers honestly. This technology wasn't designed with warfare as its primary function. Its original purpose was evolutionary advancement. An alert sounds throughout the base as the first hegemony long-range weapons fire. The quantum disruption shells move slower than conventional weaponry, generating a field effect that expands upon detonation. We need to deploy the Phantom Squadron, Joe insists. Now, before they establish their disruption grid. Elena hesitates, knowing what combat intensity does to the integration process. During the skirmish at Neptune, 3 crew members on the Artemis accelerated to near transcendence after intense quantum manipulation. They're currently in medical stasis, their bodies fluctuating dangerously between matter and energy. Admiral, she says carefully, we still don't fully understand the safeguards SPECT mentioned. If our crews reach critical evolutionary thresholds during combat, we lose Earth either way, Zhao counters. At least this gives us a fighting chance. As if to punctuate his words, a disruption shell detonates in high orbit, creating a visible distortion in space-time. Several nearby communications satellites immediately fail as quantum uncertainty collapses around them. They're more advanced than we realized, Chen observes, her own form momentarily destabilizing as the disruption field expands. This isn't just about stopping phantom technology. They're attempting to alter the fundamental quantum properties of Earth's entire orbital space. Elena makes her decision. Deploy the Phantom Squadron, but with strict limitations on quantum shifting. Maximum of 3 state changes per engagement. We need to preserve crew stability. As Zhao hurries to relay the orders, Elena turns to Chen. Contact Spectator. Tell her we need access to the 5th seed ship immediately, the one containing the evolutionary control protocols, if we can't find those safeguards before this battle intensifies. Chen completes her thought. We may save Earth only to transcend and abandon it, just like all the others. Elena stands on the bridge of the phantom vessel Thunderchild, watching through quantum perception as Commander Takeda's consciousness fragments before her. His physical form remains intact, seated at his station, but his mind has splintered into parallel identities, each believing itself to be a different person from a different era. "I was First Admiral Karza during the Sirius expansion," he mutters, his eyes unfocused. "I authorized the quantum bombardment of Proxima Centauri that created the dead zone. 60 billion souls." His voice shifts, accent changing entirely. "No, I was Chief Scientist Naylan. I designed the first phantom drives using consciousness as catalyst. The test subjects volunteered, but we didn't tell them metamorphosis would be irreversible." Medical Officer Harper administers a neural stabilizer through a hypospray that phases directly into Takeda's bloodstream. His brain is rewriting itself to accommodate multiple ancestral memory patterns simultaneously, she explains, scanning his neural activity. The phantom technology doesn't just grant access to ancestral memories. It's integrating those personalities into his consciousness matrix. "Can you stabilize him?" Elena asks, ignoring Admiral Sinia's presence at her shoulder, visible only to her, a quantum ghost manifesting from her own ancestral DNA. "Temporarily," Harper answers, but every time he uses advanced phantom abilities, the integration deepens. Eventually, the ancestral patterns will become dominant. Admiral Sinia's ghost circles Takeda with clinical interest. "He's accessing the awakened override," she tells Elena privately. "It happens to operators with specific genetic markers. They become living archives of multiple ancestors' experiences, useful during the sundering when we needed to preserve knowledge across dimensional shifts." "He's losing himself," Elena argues, discomforted by Senia's callous assessment. "He's becoming more than himself," Senia counters. "Individual identity is a primitive concept once quantum consciousness develops fully. Your species' attachment to singularity of self is limiting your evolutionary potential." Elena dismisses Senia's ghost with a thought, focusing on Harper's treatment of Takeda. Similar incidents are occurring across the Phantom Fleet. Crew members whose ancestral memories have begun overwhelming their original personalities. The phenomenon has become common enough to receive a designation: ancestral override syndrome. On the quantum communication network linking all phantom vessels, Elena senses distress signals from 3 more ships reporting crew members experiencing severe dissociative episodes. Most concerning are the reports from the phantom vessel Chimera, where an entire section of engineering crew have begun reconstructing technology not included in Spectator's original integration package, devices they claim to remember from their ancestral past. "Commander," Lieutenant Chen calls from her station, her form shifting between solid state and translucent energy as she processes multiple data streams simultaneously. "We've received the report from the science team studying the 5th seed ship's contents." Elena accesses the data directly through her neural link. The 5th seed ship contains protocols related to evolutionary control, as SPECTER had suggested, but they're encrypted in ways that defy conventional analysis. More concerning is the containment field surrounding the ship's central core, a quantum barrier designed to isolate something within. "What exactly did they find?" Elena asks, though she already senses the answer through the quantum network. "They believe it's a consciousness storage system," Chen reports, her expression grave, "containing thousands of fully preserved minds from the pre-sundering civilization. Not just memories, complete personalities in suspended quantum state." Before Elena can process this revelation, a priority alert flashes through the quantum network. The phantom vessel Hermes, stationed near Neptune to monitor hegemony movements, has gone dark. Not destroyed. Dark. All quantum signatures simply vanished. Seconds later, disturbing footage arrives from a conventional monitoring satellite. The Hermes crew gathered on the ship's observation deck, their bodies transforming into pure energy before vanishing completely, taking their vessel with them. A localized transcendence event, exactly like those in the historical records Elena viewed in the Phyrexian commander's memories. Its beginning, Admiral Senea's ghost whispers in Elena's mind. The Great Ascension, just as it was always meant to. No, Elena counters, fighting the alien thoughts that increasingly infiltrate her consciousness. We're supposed to be finding a way to prevent this, not accelerate it. Senea's ghost smiles enigmatically. Are you certain that was ever truly your mission? Or is that merely what your diminished modern consciousness believes? Perhaps your deeper self has always known the true purpose. Elena's hand passes through a console as her own quantum state fluctuates involuntarily. For a moment, she perceives multiple timelines simultaneously, each showing different versions of the coming hours. In most of them, more phantom ships follow the Herm's path to transcendence. Struggle if you must, Senea whispers. It changes nothing. The phantom technology has only one true purpose, written into its basic structure: to elevate humanity beyond physical constraints. You are merely the catalyst for what was always inevitable. The quantum void between Elena and the Phyrexian Archon ripples with shared ancestral memories, both human in origin despite their now divergent forms. Through their neural link, Elena experiences the exodus of the modified humans after their defeat in the ancient Civil War, their desperate flight from Earth in vessels barely capable of interstellar travel, the generations spent adapting to harsh alien environments, the gradual physical transformations that rendered them unrecognizable as human. We never forgot. The Archon's thoughts pulse through the connection. Even as our bodies change, we remembered being cast out by our own kind. We remembered the quantum weapons that shattered worlds during the Sundering. Elena pushes deeper, past the Archon's conscious barriers, into genetic memories so ancient they exist as fragmented impressions rather than coherent narratives. She witnesses the original schism that divided humanity, not merely political but philosophical. One faction embraced modification to adapt to alien worlds. The other believed in terraforming those worlds to suit unmodified humans. The phantom technology was never meant for warfare. Elena realizes, the revelation blooming in her quantum-enhanced consciousness. It was designed as an evolutionary safety valve, a means to transcend physical form entirely when physical adaptations became insufficient. And in your arrogance, you unleashed it without understanding. The Archon counters, his mental voice bitter. Just as your ancestors did, triggering the cascade that nearly destroyed all reality. Their shared consciousness space fills with the Archon's ancestral memory of the final days of the war. Phantom fleets phasing between realities, weapons that distorted spacetime itself, and finally, the catastrophic collapse of quantum stability across multiple star systems as trillions of modified and unmodified humans died in reality-shearing explosions. The survivors agreed. Never again, the Archon continues. The phantom technology was too dangerous to exist. Those who remained in physical form, both modified and unmodified, built the artifacts as containment systems, not activation keys. They were meant to warn future generations, not empower them. Elena reels from this revelation. Then why did the artifacts respond to us? Why did they activate rather than remain dormant? The answer comes not from the Archon, but from deeper ancestral memory patterns they both share. The quantum imprint of decisions made by the survivors after the Sundering. They couldn't destroy the phantom technology completely. Its integration with human DNA had become too fundamental. Instead, they encoded failsafes. The technology would reactivate only when humanity faced extinction-level threats, providing temporary advantage before triggering the transcendent sequence that would remove phantom-enhanced humans from physical reality. The containment was never meant to be permanent, the Archon admits reluctantly, only to delay the inevitable until proper safeguards could be developed. We've spent millennia searching for those safeguards, while systematically hunting down and destroying any artifacts that activated. Elena accuses, witnessing the hegemony's ruthless suppression of 17 previous emergence events. Because incomplete activation is worse than none, the Archon insists. The phantom technology fragments across populations, creating unstable transcendence events that tear holes in dimensional barriers. The Cygnus Void was once a thriving sector until a partial activation collapsed 16 dimensions into one. Outside their quantum conference, the battle rages throughout the solar system. Conventional forces exchange fire, while phantom ships phase between positions, their weapons bypassing shields to strike deep within enemy vessels. But Elena now sees the battle with new perspective, recognizing patterns that echo the ancient conflict, witnessing how phantom ships' reality manipulation creates cascading quantum instabilities with each engagement. Most disturbing is what she perceives through her enhanced quantum senses, microscopic tears in space-time forming wherever phantom technology activates at full capacity. The fabric of reality itself growing unstable as more crew members approach transcendence thresholds. "You see it now," the Archon says, sensing her realization. "This isn't just about your species or mine. Unrestricted phantom evolution threatens the stability of this entire reality." On Earth below, Elena perceives hundreds of quantum signatures awakening. Children born since the phantom technology's activation, their DNA responding to proximity even without direct exposure. The evolutionary cascade has jumped beyond the military containment protocols she established, spreading exponentially through the human population. "We've started something we can't stop," she acknowledges, horror mounting as she calculates the progression rate. Full planetary transcendence within months, followed by dimensional collapse as in the ancient records. The Archon's consciousness pulses with grim satisfaction. "Now you understand why we were willing to commit genocide. Which is worse, the extinction of one species or the destruction of an entire dimension?" The Quantum Accord signing ceremony transforms unexpectedly when a child approaches the podium. A 6-year-old girl with eyes that swirl with golden energy, her small form occasionally flickering between states. The daughter of one of the lunar colony survivors, she represents the first generation born since phantom technology activation. "She shouldn't be here," mutters a Vrexian diplomat, mandibles clicking with anxiety. The children are the most unpredictable. Elena watches with careful attention as the girl reaches the center of the assembly. Rather than speaking, she extends her hands, releasing a controlled quantum field that manifests as a 3-dimensional projection, a visual representation of the modified phantom technology the scientific teams have spent months perfecting. The children understand it intuitively, Elena explains to the nervous delegates. "They're born with the neural pathways we had to painfully develop." The girl's projection shows 2 intertwined systems: the original phantom technology with its drive toward transcendence and dimensional collapse, and the modified version that allows quantum perception and limited reality manipulation while maintaining stable physical form. "Balance," the child says simply, her voice harmonizing across multiple frequencies. Not escape, not denial. Balance. As the assembly watches, the projection expands to show Earth orbit, where 6 massive quantum stabilization platforms now hang in geosynchronous positions. Designed using combined knowledge from both unmodified and modified human scientists, the platforms generate fields that prevent uncontrolled transcendence while allowing beneficial phantom evolution to continue. Admiral Joe, recently elected to Earth's Provisional Council, approaches the podium with a physical copy of the Accords. Though still uncomfortable with quantum technology, he represents the bridge between conventional humanity and those embracing controlled evolution. "With these signatures," he announces, "we formally recognize the shared ancestry of Earth humans and the 6 former hegemony species now confirmed to be of human origin. We establish protocols for phantom technology use that prevent dimensional instability while allowing cultural exchange between physical and quantum states of being." Elena stands with Lieutenant Chen and the other members of her original crew who chose to remain in partially physical form. Many others made different choices, some embracing full transcendence to join research teams exploring higher dimensions, others rejecting phantom evolution entirely to maintain traditional human existence. The Vrexian Archon, now recognized by his ancestral human name Xander Vren, signs the document with both his original human signature and his Vrexian glyph. Our ancestors would not believe this outcome possible, he tells Alina privately. They tried suppression, then extermination. They never considered synthesis. Because they didn't have the complete picture, Alina replies, her form shifting slightly as she adjusts her quantum state. Each side held pieces of the solution, but neither could see beyond their fear. After the ceremony, Alina walks through New Armstrong City's central plaza where humans of all variations now coexist. Conventional unmodified humans, partially quantum-evolved citizens who shift states occasionally, and holographic projections of those who chose full transcendence but maintain contact with physical reality. Children play with quantum toys that exist simultaneously in multiple states, learning to balance physical and quantum perception from the earliest age. Education centers offer classes in ancestral memory integration, teaching techniques to access genetic knowledge without being overwhelmed by it. Near the observation windows overlooking Earth, Alina finds Science Officer Prakish working with a team of modified and unmodified scientists on portable quantum stabilizers. The Mars colony implementation is proceeding on schedule, he reports, his form flickering slightly as he accesses data through quantum perception. And we've adapted the technology for the Jupiter settlements. Even the most modified human variants can now safely use phantom abilities without risking dimensional instability. Alina nods, satisfied. The most difficult engineering challenge had been designing systems that allowed phantom evolution without triggering uncontrolled transcendence cascades. The solution had come from an unexpected source: the consciousness storage system in the fifth seed ship, where thousands of ancient minds had preserved their knowledge specifically for this moment. What about the outlying settlements? She asks. The ones beyond our stabilization network's range. Prakish smiles. That's where the new Phantom Fleet comes in. Outside the windows, a squadron of ships unlike any before them move into lunar orbit. Neither fully physical nor completely quantum, they represent the synthesis of both approaches. Vessels capable of conventional space travel that can also phase between realities when needed. Their mission: to extend the stabilization network to all human settlements, preventing isolated transcendence events, while maintaining connection between all branches of humanity's evolutionary tree. The first diplomatic mission leaves for Centauri tomorrow. Prakish continues. The modified humans there have been isolated for centuries. Our preliminary quantum communications suggest they've developed their own variation of phantom technology, one that might complement our approach.